If you had to choose just one car to live with for the rest of your life, what would it be? Your instinct may be to choose something exciting like a Lamborghini or a Ferrari, but those cars aren't very practical. An SUV might make better sense, but generally they aren't very fuel efficient. A Toyota Prius would be a good choice, except for it'd be quite dull to drive. So what could you buy that can merge all of those attributes into one vehicle? Extreme levels of performance, practicality, and fuel efficiency. I would argue it's this: Tesla's newest Model S equipped in Plaid trim. When it comes to performance, there's no other mainstream production car ever made that can beat the Model S Plaid to 60 miles per hour or through the quarter mile. Sure, there's the Rimac Navara, but with the $2.4 million price tag, it's not the type of car most mortals would be considering. Add to that, only 150 are planned for production, and it's out of reach for the average person. With the starting price just under $130,000, the Plaid isn't exactly cheap, but in a world where a BMW M3 can now top six figures, $130,000 isn't as crazy an asking price for a car as it once was. But performance alone isn't enough to make this car an all-arounder. With the hatchback design and almost 60 cubic feet of cargo space, the Model S has as much room for storage as a small crossover, and for individuals that are rightfully mindful of the Earth's climate, this car can get nearly 400 miles of fully electric range thanks to its 100 kilowatt-hour battery pack and 3 motors. With all of these factors working together, there's a solid case to be made that the Model S Plaid in 2022 is the best all-around car money can buy. Tesla is offering 2 different versions of the Model S. There's the long-range dual motor, which can get up to 405 miles of range. With a starting price just under $90,000, it produces 670 horsepower, and 0 to 60 takes 3.1 seconds. Those numbers are impressive, but they're tame compared to the Model S Plaid. With its 3 motors, this car makes a total of 1,020 horsepower, and Tesla markets the Plaid with a 0 to 60 time of 1.99 seconds, making this car quick in a mind-shifting sort of way. But if you look at the Model S even in Plaid trim, there's nothing about it that stands out. There's nothing about it that screams 1,000 horsepower. Even compared to the long-range Model S, there are no clear indicators that this is the quickest mainstream production car in the world. The front end does receive an updated bumper over the previous models. I believe it looks more aggressive, but the lighting, hood, and front fascia all look very similar to the previous generation. They are instantly recognizable as a Tesla Model S. The long range and Plaid also share the same 19 and 21-inch wheels. Even with over 1,000 horsepower, the Plaid doesn't get a special set of wheels like the Model 3 Performance, which has its own unique set of wheels versus the lesser trims. This car is equipped with the 19-inch wheels, helping it achieve a max range of 396 miles. If you opt for the 21-inch wheels, the range will decrease to 348 miles. Either way, that's more than enough to take a trip from Los Angeles to Las Vegas or DC to New York on a single charge. The door handles and trim are all black instead of the chrome found on older models, and in the rear, the Plaid has the only 2 main indicators that it is different from the long-range version. Those include a relatively small Plaid badge and a thin carbon fiber spoiler. Apologies for the dirty vehicle, rain plus a tight video and schedule didn't work in my favor. I like how Tesla integrates the charge port into the reflector on the driver's side taillight, keeping things sleek. If you're familiar with Teslas, you will know that there are cameras well integrated into the body, like the cameras hidden in the B-pillar and the ones in the side markers. Getting into the Plaid can be done by simply walking up to it. The Model S will detect the key nearby and automatically unlock. The door handles pop out and you can enter the car. The most significant changes to the Model S come in the interior, the most controversial of which is the new steering wheel, or yoke in Tesla speak. As you can see, it's not exactly a wheel. I applaud Tesla for trying something new, but usability isn't that great. I wanted to be open-minded, but at lower speeds, I kept reaching for portions of the wheel that just weren't there. It may seem like a minor inconvenience, but it can be a bit of a headache when you're in a tight, crowded parking lot. After a few days of driving it, I did start to get the hang of using it at lower speeds. Overall, at highway speeds, it's okay. It's certainly not a deal breaker, but something I could do without. Tesla as a brand aims to keep its interiors as minimal as possible, and because of that, there are very few buttons. There aren't even any stalks on the steering column. The turn signals are activated via buttons on the yoke's left side, along with the headlights. When you press the headlight button, it pulls up a menu in the center screen to operate the headlight settings. The button also acts as the high beam flasher. I never got used to the turn signals as I kept finding myself reaching for a stalk, and I had to keep looking down to make sure I was pressing the correct direction. On the right side of the yoke are buttons for voice control, the windshield washer, and the horn. Apparently there is a way to press your hand over the right side of the yoke to activate the horn, but I never got it to work. The large gauge cluster remains one of the best in the industry, with sharp, crisp graphics that provide an overwhelming amount of information about what's going on around you. The system can pick up everything on and around the road, including markings for bike lanes and safety cones. It also acts as your blind spot monitor, showing you where other vehicles are next to your car. I like how the graphics accurately depict what type of vehicle it is. There's also no gear selector. The Model S uses its sensors and cameras to determine what's in front of you and behind the car and guess which direction you want the car to go. I found this predictive function works reasonably well in most situations. If you want to select your direction, you can use the left part of the display to swipe forwards or backward for your desired direction. There is also a park button at the top. The center console also has override controls hidden at the bottom of this panel. I wasn't able to get them to operate. You're supposed to be able to briefly press both scroll buttons on the steering wheel to activate them manually. Also, if the car's touchscreen ever stops working, the gear selector on the center console should activate itself. Quite honestly, I found the new selector and prediction system to work well for me, and it didn't take much time to get used to it. Most other controls run through the large 17-inch display, which is likely one of the best in the industry in terms of clarity, speed, and information. However, it can become a bit overwhelming due to everything you must control through it. Adjusting the climate controls is done through the display, and not just the temperature, but also the direction. The Model S doesn't have visible air vents. The air blows out of hidden cutouts in the dashboard. There is even an option to put the car in bioweapons defense mode, which works with the car's air filter to capture fine particulate matter, good enough for bacteria, viruses, pollen, and mold. Dog mode allows you to set the car's interior temperature to a comfortable level for your pet. It displays a message to notify anyone walking by your car that your pet is okay in a temperature-controlled environment. Adjusting the yoke position and mirrors is done by selecting the options in the display and then using the scroll wheels on the yoke to set your preferences. Once you've chosen which option you want to control, scroll the wheel up and down, or press it side to side to control which direction you want the mirrors to go. The same applies to the yoke. Once you've selected it in the menu, you can use the scroll wheels to adjust the position of the yoke. There are both tilt and telescopic adjustments. Everything else can be done through the center touchscreen, from opening the glove box or the trunks. There's certainly no shortage of menus that allow you to adjust many different features. I won't go through everything for the sake of time, but here's a quick look at some of the menus. Pedals and steering has adjustments for acceleration and steering inputs. The suspension menu has adjustments for the adaptive chassis. Charging shows you information related to the battery's capacity. And the Autopilot menu has numerous options related to the Autopilot system and safety warnings. All the media options also run through the center touchscreen, and the usual Tesla extras are included, such as using the car's camera system for Sentry Mode. Sentry Mode turns the car's cameras into a security feature and will alert you of any incident when you return to the vehicle. As you can see, a group of people were interested in the Model S, and the car took a clear video of them just in case something happened. Entertainment includes several options such as Netflix, YouTube, and Disney+. There's an arcade menu with games, the coolest of which is Beach Buggy Racing 2. It allows you to use the car's steering wheel and brake pedal to play the game. Granted, as you can see, I'm not that good at the game, but you get the point. It's probably not a good look that you can literally crash and burn. The toy box offers a ton of extras like the whoopee cushion for an assortment of fart sounds. There's even a program for music production for anyone looking to make a top 100 hit on the go. A web browser allows you to search the internet, and perhaps in the unnecessary column is the option to have a unique sound play when you press the horn. If you're not satisfied with just the standard horn, you can add a goat into the mix. Of course, because Tesla seems to be obsessed with farting, you can also add a fart noise to your horn as well. The setup even allows you to add your own unique sound. The center console has 3 moving doors. Each sliding piece can be controlled individually, including one for the cup holders. When all 3 are open, there's a good amount of room for storage, and you will find 2 USB-C ports for devices. The section above the console contains 2 wireless phone chargers that aren't marked but work well. I was a bit concerned that my phone would go flying, considering the crazy levels of acceleration this car can achieve, but the charger held it in place magnetically. This car is fitted with the standard black seats. White seats are optional. I found the seats to be very comfortable and the material is soft to touch. Getting in the rear, you will notice there is a good amount of room for passengers. The floor is entirely flat, providing comfortable foot space even for individuals sitting in the middle seat. The materials on the doors match those up front. Rear passengers also get a touchscreen and USB ports. The screen controls the climate adjustments, and just like the front, there are no actual climate vents. Instead, there is a cutout beneath the screen that the air passes through. All 3 seating surfaces in the rear can be heated. The screen also gives you access to entertainment options for things such as YouTube. Continuing the theme of not having many mechanical switches, letting down the center seat to gain access to the cup holders is done by pressing the button on the back of the seat. Overall, the interior is all new for this latest model. The material quality is notably a step up from the previous Model S. However, at $140,000, the Model S Plaid is still noticeably behind European manufacturers regarding its build quality and fit and finish. Press around long enough and you are bound to find poorly fitted panels and plenty of squeaking. The center console trim was definitely the worst example. The trim around the glass roof was also of questionable build quality. When I let down one of the seats in the rear, I noticed the cover for the child seat latches also got jammed underneath, and I had to fumble with it to get it out. For most owners, they are willing to overlook these shortfalls to get the other benefits of owning a Tesla. But if you ever find yourself stepping out of a Mercedes EQS into one of these, it's hard not to feel though you've gotten into something that cost half the price. The Model S is a hatchback and not a true sedan, a small fact that I like. Hatchbacks are more practical when loading items. With the hatch up, the Model S offers a ton of space for items. You can even fit an entire mountain bike inside without removing the seats, a point Tesla states in their marketing materials. And of course, there's even more storage room up front. But the main reason I would ever buy one of these is because of the ludicrous levels. No, wait. What am I trying to say? Basically, this car is incredibly quick. As I mentioned before, this car can theoretically reach 60 miles per hour in under 2 seconds. I say theoretically because everything must be just right for that to happen. And even then, you have to use a bit of mathematical trickery for those numbers to work. To put it into perspective, the quickest versions of a typical family sedan, such as a Honda Accord or Toyota Camry, in their fastest forms can reach 60 miles per hour in the low 5-second range. Step up to a high-performance sedan such as an Audi RS5 or BMW M3 Competition, and you can shave 2 seconds off that time and find yourself in the area under 3.5 seconds. Some of the quickest cars on the planet, such as the Porsche 911 Turbo S and McLaren 765 LT, are rated at roughly 2.5 seconds 0 to 60. Even still, the Model S Plaid with a 1.9 0 to 60 time will have any of those cars looking at its rear end. And it's not just the 60 miles per hour. Through the quarter mile, the Model S Plaid remains in front of both of those cars, clawing its way across 1,320 feet in 9.2 seconds. Opt for the 21-inch wheels and a yet-to-be-released update, and the Plaid's top speed will clip the double-century mark. So here we are with a 5-seat, 4-door hatchback capable of demolishing anything that comes up next to it well past legal speeds. But how exactly does 0 to 60 in 2 seconds happen? First, you need to make sure the Plaid is in drag strip mode, which can be selected through the pedals and steering menu. After that, you need to wait for the car to condition itself for peak performance. When the car is cold, I found on average this takes about 13 minutes to do. So no, you won't be using this mode immediately anytime you get into your car. You will need to have already conditioned it for maximum acceleration. But even then, you still have to go through a few more steps. Press down hard on the brake pedal, then floor the throttle. Again, wait, this time for the car to enter its cheetah stance, where it lowers the front end just a bit. Then the center console will display the message, ready to launch, and finally you can release the brake pedal with the throttle still floored, and off you go to the land of Plaid. It's not all that complicated, yet there still is a but. If everything works out perfectly, the time you will record will still likely not be under 2 seconds, and that's because Tesla quotes its times by subtracting a rollout. In drag racing, rollouts are used because staging lights can cause time variations from one vehicle to the next, based on when the wheels and tires trigger and untrigger the staging lights. The standard rollout is about 1 foot, or somewhere in the range of 3 miles per hour, which can remove about 0.1 seconds off a car's recorded time. This means the Plaid, in the truest sense, can hit 0 to 60 in 2.09 seconds. Beyond a marketing ploy, this would still make the Plaid the quickest mainstream production car on the planet. I'm not sure why Tesla had to introduce the rollout procedure to gain the extra tenth. The fact remains, if you ever find yourself going from stoplight to stoplight, or from highway exit to highway exit, there should be no worries that you can easily stay in front of any production car next to you. Put it into drag strip mode, press your foot hard on the brake. She'll enter into cheetah mode, preparing for launch. Alrighty. Oh my God. Whoa. Okay. That has got to be as close to a spiritual experience you can have on planet Earth. Yeah. There is an astonishing amount of consistency when accelerating in this car, and it does it with absolutely no wheel spin or mechanical theatrics. There's no shifting required or any other time-wasting motions required with internal combustion powered vehicles. Even without using drag strip mode, this car will blast you forward in a neck-snapping fashion. Oh man. What's even scarier is that I feel the power is tamed through about 50 miles per hour. Meaning 0 to 60 miles per hour isn't even this car's best party trick. It's going the next 60 miles per hour where things are genuinely astonishing. That is from 60 miles per hour to say 120 miles per hour. Going 50 miles per hour and want to go 80, you can literally get there quicker than you can say go 80 miles per hour. The never-ending rush of power and acceleration is nothing like I have ever experienced before, even from the world's fastest motorcycles. The Model S Plaid has no problem outrunning them as well.
Overall, driving the Tesla Model S, it reminds me of a lot of things that I did like about the last generation Model S. Although this car does receive some pretty decent updates, this is essentially still the same platform. So it still rides really well. The suspension's great, soaks up bumps really well. It'll actually raise and lower the suspension depending on the road conditions. If it sees or understands that it may be useful to have the suspension higher or lower for more comfort, it'll actually do that automatically. And the steering, of course, is also really good in this car. I've had it in sport mode pretty much the entire time that I've been driving it. Of course, you can put it in standard as well as comfort mode, depending on your preferences, but I like sport mode. I like having the heavy steering. This car doesn't have any feedback in terms of steering. It's pretty numb in terms of letting you know what's happening on the road, but it's direct. When you turn the wheel, it does go where you want it to go. So it does have direct steering, but there's absolutely no feedback that I can feel. The brakes are okay. Stops no problem, but there's really, again, the same issue. I just don't feel like there's any feel from the brakes. And some of that could be due to the regenerative system, but I get absolutely no feel from the brakes and no feel from the steering. So those are two things that, in terms of performance, aren't the best in this car. But when you go 0 to 60 in less than 2 seconds, who really cares about steering and braking? You can absolutely just destroy anything in a straight line. And you get up to highway speeds, absolutely no problem.
This car is equipped with the optional full self-driving system, and it keeps getting better with each edition. I believe this is the best self-driving system on the market. It can even detect stop signs and stoplights and will stop and go automatically. It's perfect at keeping you in your lane, and when taking longer trips, it will also take on and off ramps when used in conjunction with the turn signals.
And of course, Tesla's Autopilot system continues to be one of the best, if not the best, in the industry. Press it once and it will maintain your speed for you. Press it twice and you'll have the full steering control and everything else that goes along with it. The system will change lanes for you. It will let you know about your exits and take exits for you by just using the turn signal as a way to let it know that you want to merge into the other lane to take exits. It does have a few hiccups here and there. It will stop for stop signs as well as stoplights, so on and so forth. But I've had a couple of instances where it thought there was a stop sign somewhere, and it actually slammed on brakes to stop for a stop sign, which can be kind of dangerous if you have someone behind you and you're just stopping in the middle of the road. But otherwise, the system's pretty dang good. And although I have my hands on the steering wheel, which I do suggest always be paying attention, have your hands on the steering wheel, it is driving by itself essentially. Again, if I want to switch lanes, I simply just put the steering or press the turn signal and it will change lanes for me. Otherwise, it's doing its own thing.
Tesla's supercharging network continues to grow, and since the last time I spent some time with the Tesla, there has been a new supercharging network added close to where I live. Charging is easy to do and relatively quick. This car is rated at 396 miles of range, and that's plenty of range for almost any trip I would ever want to take. Take into consideration at-home charging, and range anxiety should virtually be non-existent for most owners. So back to the main question. Is it possible that the Tesla Model S Plaid could be the best all-around vehicle on the market right now? I think there's certainly a solid case to be made. This car can get nearly 400 miles of emissions-free range, making it uber efficient. It can also cover some of that mileage quicker than anything else on the road. And there is plenty of comfort, technology, and space for stuff in the interior. So I would conclude that if you're looking for one vehicle that can do all things that most car buyers would want, the Model S Plaid should be the first thing you check out. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. You can also find us on Instagram at rideXdrive.